About 20 years ago, the murder of the last of the Gucci shocked Italy. The culprit, his wife, is one of the most fascinating characters in recent fashion history. In this video, we reveal the true and hidden story about Gucci: money, crime, betrayal, and status. Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. If you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get more videos like this. Let's get started without further ado. Is how Patrizia Reggiani is known, a humble young Italian woman who built an empire at the cost of her husband's life. The film House of Gucci, La Casa Gucci, which has just been released in theaters, is based on the struggles for power, money, adultery, and murder that also surround the big names in fashion. On March 27, 1995, at 8:30 in the morning, Maurizio Gucci arrived at his office in Milan's Via Palestro like every day. Shortly after greeting Giuseppe Onorato, the building's doorman, he started up the stairs. Suddenly, 3 revolver shots exploded in his back, and as he fell, another hit him in the head. At first, the goalie thought it was all a joke, but when he was shot twice, he realized it wasn't a bluff. Gucci's grandson died while the sweeper was holding him in his arms. The murder of Maurizio Gucci gave the starting signal to one of the trials that have generated the most morbidity in Italy, and which, paradoxically, seems to have been forgotten. The process concluded with the conviction of 5 people. Among them is Gucci's ex-wife, Patrizia Reggiani, who spent 18 years behind bars, until she was finally released in September 2013. Although at the time some versions suggested that the cold-blooded murder of Gucci could be due to an international conspiracy due to the economic interests of the last members of the clan, the judge declared that the mind behind the crime was Reggiani, who had hired through his seer, Nina Ariema, a gunman, a clumsy thief named Benedetto Ceraulo, to end her ex-husband. The woman could have been released from prison in 2011 if she had wanted to, but she rejected the idea because she was not interested in the job she was offered. "I've never worked, and I'm not going to start now," she said on that occasion. After all, she lived reasonably well. Her lawyer had managed to negotiate some prison privileges, like being able to take care of her ferret, Bambi. A couple of years later, she was hired as a design consultant by Beaux-Art, a Milanese jewelry company. Almost 20 years after her sentence, The Guardian has located the former Gucci lady and has reopened one of the most notorious cases of the Italian jet set, discovering a fascinating character. Patrizia Reggiani was born on December 2, 1948, in a small town on the outskirts of Milan, the daughter of a waitress and a transport businessman. Patrizia was married to a much older man who had made a fortune in the transport business. They did not belong to high society, but they were rich, and the father spoiled her with fur coats, jewelry, and luxury cars. At the age of 20, she had managed to make her way into the elite circuits thanks to her beauty, style, and of course her money. For Rodolfo, Maurizio's father, none of these credentials was enough to accept Reggiani as the bride, much less the wife of his only son. He considered her a climber. "I was excited and different," Reggiani recalled in an interview with The Guardian. The Guccis came from Florence, so Maurizio was an outsider in Milan. His mother had died when he was 5 years old, and his father had always been overprotective of him. In those early days with Patrizia, she says, he felt free. "At first, I didn't think much about him. He seemed to me like a shy boy with crooked teeth. She had other suitors, but he patiently pursued her with millions at his disposal to conquer her. So he made Patrizia flaunt his wealth, and when her boyfriend picked her up at her house in a cheap car, he looked like a loser." As we said, Patrizia had other suitors, but her violet eyes and slender figure mesmerized the young Gucci when they met on the night of November 23, 1970. He immediately fell in love with her when they first met, but for her, it was just the start of pursuing one of Italy's most eligible bachelors. Now 65, the woman revealed that Maurizio was deeply smitten with her because she was intriguing and distinct. They tied the knot in 1972, which caused disappointment for Maurizio's father, Rodolfo Gucci, who was the son of Guiccio Gucci. the founder of the fashion empire that commenced in 1921. When the couple married on October 28, 1972, the wedding was one of the great social events of the year, but none of Maurizio's relatives were there. Their marriage caused a rift between Maurizio and his father, Rodolfo, who did not approve of Patrizia and believed her to be an unscrupulous gold digger. Despite initial opposition, the father and son ended up reconciling, and the former gave the couple a luxury penthouse in the Olympic Tower in New York. Maurizio and Patrizia became the first Italian socialite couple to make regular appearances at parties and parades, and became friends with Jackie Onassis and the Kennedys. They lived extravagantly in a constant dream vacation between New York, Los Angeles, and Acapulco, where they had properties. They had 2 daughters, Alessandra and Allegra. Rodolfo Gucci died on May 15, 1983, and, with the patriarch missing, everything began to fall apart. Maurizio inherited only 50% of the company. The other 50% went to his cousin Paolo. The latter accused him of tax fraud, starting a war for control of the firm that lasted for years. Even in the extravagant 1970s, the sumptuous standard of living of the young couple surprised the press. From his New York penthouse to his alpine refuge in the exclusive ski resort of St. Moritz, from his idyllic villa in Acapulco to his rural farm in Connecticut, or any of his private islands around the world, aboard his 64-meter-long wooden sailboat, the Creole, the ship in which Juan Carlos and Sofia from Spain spent their honeymoon in 1962, was an emblem of the couple's power. Maurizio bought it from the Greek millionaire Stavros Niarchos to celebrate the arrival of his second daughter Allegra. During that time, Patrizia would spend over $10,000 every month solely on orchids. The Gucci family was renowned for hosting parties with a single-color theme, where everything from clothing to decor and food would match, and Jackie Onassis was a frequent guest. Reggiani told The Guardian that they had a lot of fun. "We were a stunning couple and led a remarkable life." She became emotional recalling those parties, especially the ones where orange was her preferred color, and it still pains her to reminisce about them. With a degree in law and economics, Maurizio began to think about his plan for Gucci, which had nothing to do with his cousin's project, to turn it into the most luxurious pret-a-porter factory in the world. Rodolfo's death in 1983 pushed Maurizio to take control of the company, thanks to 50% of the firm suddenly falling into his hands. Patrizia, his wife, became the driving force for him to take control of the company, explains the book dedicated to the family in Great Dynasties. It was also the beginning of the end of his marriage to Reggiani, consumed by fights with his cousins and uncles for control of Gucci, something he would eventually achieve through the investment company Investcorp. The process of internal struggle in the family gave a lot, among other things, for a book like Gucci Wars, How I Survived Murder and Intrigue at the Heart of the World's Biggest Fashion House by John Blake, published by Jenny Putafort Gucci, widow of Paolo Gucci. However, taking control of Gucci did not solve Maurizio's life. He probably messed it up. His fortune began to decline due to the deprecation of the company that bore his last name. It was still a few years before Tom Ford, whom he hired, would take control, until he sold it for $120 million. In 1993, Maurizio was accused of money laundering and forging his father's signature, and the Gulf War had ruined the luxury market. It was the final thrust of his relationship with Patrizia, from whom he separated in 1990 after 6 years of litigation. The woman assures her that she was enraged by many things, among which the divorce was perhaps not the least important. Above all, losing the family business. It was a failure. She was full of rage, but there was nothing she could do. He shouldn't have done something like that to me, or maybe there was something that was within his reach of her. The tale of the modern Cinderella was broken when Maurizio decided to leave Patrizia. When he later tells her that he wants to marry an old friend of the couple, Paola Franchi, she begins to plan his vendetta. After leaving Patrizia, Maurizio began seeing Paolo Franchi, with whom he lived in her palace in central Milan for 5 years. No gold digger denies the woman who survived the last Gucci. As he explained to The Guardian, her previous husband was even richer than Maurizio. On March 27, 1995, around 8:30 in the morning, an anonymous Benedetto Sorallo shot Mr. Gucci 3 times in the back. At first, the investigation focused on his business. but everything changed when Ivan Savioni, a hotel porter, blabbed. Wiretaps revealed that Pina Ariema, Patrizia Reggiani's advisor and friend, had paid Savioni to organize the businessman's assassination, and he, in turn, hired two hitmen to do the dirty work. The murder was probably planned to occur before the wedding of Maurizio and Paola. This may have been because Patrizia didn't want another woman, referred to as Mrs. Gucci by everyone, to be with her ex-husband, as Ariema pointed out. Alternatively, it could be because Patrizia's daughters, Alessandra and Allegra, may have had to share their inheritance with additional siblings if Maurizio had children with Paola. Patrizia had plotted the murder of her ex-husband with the help of her seer, because despite more than 10 years having passed since the divorce, she was unable to accept her husband's rejection and the loss of her social status. During the trial, Paola stated that she often received threatening calls from her partner's ex-wife, especially regarding the spending of her fortune. The same day of the murder, Patrizia showed up at Maurizio's apartment. During his funeral, she stated that she humanly felt the death of her ex-husband, but that she could not stay the same from a personal point of view. One day after Gucci's death, Paola received an eviction order signed by Reggiani before a notary at 11 a.m. the day before, just a couple of hours after the crime. For her part, Reggiani assured her that Paola was going to leave Maurizio soon and that she only wanted to get her money. If at any time Patrizia thought of getting away with it, reality soon set in. Not that she exactly paid special attention to hiding the clues. The alleged culprit admitted to having paid a few million lire to Ariema, although according to her version, her psychic had acted on her initiative. A quick check of her diary showed that on March 27, 1995, the day of Gucci's death, she had written Paradise. A bug in the telephone recordings left no room for doubt. The gunman, Ciraulo, and the chauffeur, Orazio Circala, had been hired by a hotel porter named Ivano Savioni, who had been contacted by Pina. In 2000, Patrizia Reggiani attempted suicide in a Milan prison after a judge rejected her appeal. Her daughters, Alessandra and Allegra, tried to reopen the case, arguing that her mother, who had had a brain tumor removed, was not fully competent when she committed the crime. The story of Patrizia Reggiani was intended to be made into a movie featuring Angelina Jolie playing her role, but the Gucci family denied permission for it. Meanwhile, while serving her sentence in jail, Reggiani learned a few things. She considers herself a resilient person for surviving many years behind bars, spending most of her time sleeping and taking care of her plants and her pet ferret Bambi. According to the article in The Guardian, Reggiani expresses dissatisfaction about having to wear Zara clothes, since she cannot afford proper attire with what she earns at Beaux-Arts. As soon as she was released, her first act was to go shopping in Via Monte Napoleone in Milan. Currently, she has strained relations with her daughters, who have cut off her financial support and denied her the opportunity to meet her two grandchildren. However, she still believes that she would be the best representative for the Gucci brand. If given a chance to see Maurizio once again, she would tell him that he was the person she loved the most in her entire life. The reasons behind Reggiani's decision to kill Gucci were often portrayed stereotypically. The popular theory suggested that she was envious of Maurizio's new girlfriend, desired his money, was worried about losing her inheritance, was resentful of being abandoned, or simply crazy. While there might be some truth to these theories, there was a deeper issue at play. For Patrizia, being a Gucci was everything. It was her identity, even after the divorce. Reggiani was infuriated when Maurizio sold the Gucci brand. In 2014, she expressed her hope to La Repubblica newspaper that once she was released and available, the company would reach out to her. She believed they needed her, and she still identified strongly as a Gucci. In fact, she saw herself as the most Gucci of them all. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for spending some time with us. If you found this video interesting, let us know what you think in the comment box. Make sure to hit the like button and notification bell, and subscribe to our channel to get access to more interesting videos from us. While you are kindly here, click on one of the other 2 videos you see on your screen. See you there!